Hey everybody, it's Keith Yuede with the Yuede Team Coldwell Banker. We're really excited to get through this material tonight. We're on tonight with Giro Katsimbrakis with DPW Properties. We've been working and doing business with Giro in the St. Louis market for going on 2 years now, and we're really excited to have him on tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about our market, St. Louis. We're going to talk about the foreclosure market. We're going to talk about investing in real estate. And we're going to also get some input from Giro. So something that we do on the Yuede team that we always strive to do is we want to try to get our arms around the market. We want to do as much research as we can, try to figure out where we're going so we can make good decisions and so we can help our clients to make good decisions. And something that we have been seeing on a daily basis, and this has been happening for several years now, underwriting standards for loans are still extremely tight. Ever since the market crashed, the underwriting standards are really tight. I have a guy that I'm working with now that he's a member of the Air Force. He has a union job. He's got close to an 800 credit score, and they're giving him a hard time about his loan because he hasn't been on the job long enough. It almost seems like in some ways the banks are looking for ways to not fund these loans, and it really has led to a phenomenon, whatever you want to call it, a phase of the real estate market, and we like to call it renter nation.
Yeah, so renter nation is actually raging on as a new reality. We found an article on CNBC we wanted to talk about a little bit. It goes in to say that despite record low mortgage rates reported today, rising affordability in most U.S. housing markets, rent is a new reality for former homeowners and new households alike. For some of the post-traumatic stress from the housing crash, for others, it's the inability to get financing for a home, like Keith was talking about. Either way, the rental market's is continuing on a tear. What we're seeing is a surge in occupancy, and this is nationwide. It's pushing asking and effective rents up about 0.5% respectively. According to Reese Incorporated, they did a lot of the research for this article. They're blaming the slow economic growth and still high unemployment for the slow incline in rents. Now, higher quality properties in more desirable locations are posted rent gain in excess of 5 to 10%. So in the luxury markets and the better markets, we're seeing a little bit of a quicker gain. We really feel like more of the first-time housing, first-time renters, younger families are going to follow that trend as well.
It's going to remain to be strong. There's no doubt about it. You have people maybe that are getting into the market where they want to move out of mom and dad's house. Maybe they're getting out of trade school, they're getting out of college, whatever the case is. They need a place to live. They're having a hard time getting a loan. Maybe these people that have gone through a foreclosure or these people that have gone through a short sale that are not able to obtain financing. That's something else that's led to this renter nation. But whatever the case is, it really does look like the rental market is now and is going to continue to be very strong, which for us, that's something that's exciting, being in real estate and being in investment property, because we think it's going to be a phenomenal time to buy investment property. In fact, this is something that we've heard over the last several years is everyone's been talking about the amount of cash on the sidelines. I've heard $1 trillion. The people are hanging on to their cash right now. Why? Because they don't know what to do with it.
We're not experts in any other type of investment avenue with the exception of real estate, but what we know about real estate is if you invest in real estate, if you handle your business the correct way, you are going to make money. There's going to be a return there, which is kind of something that obviously we're going to talk about tonight with DPW because these guys are experts. I mean, they do the whole thing themselves.
These guys do it for a living. They're really good at what they do and what we've done, and we're going to go ahead and introduce Giro Katsimbrakis. Giro, can you hear us okay?
I can, Keith, yeah.
Giro, thanks so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate your time.
No problem.
What we did here is we actually came up with some questions to ask Giro to kind of get him into the presentation so we can learn from some of his expertise. The first one, Giro, why did DPW choose St. Louis?
So you're putting me in the hot seat right away, huh? No problem. I'm only kidding. We chose the St. Louis market for a number of reasons. First, the market has good stability in terms of price fluctuations. Unlike other markets, St. Louis, as you guys know, didn't see a huge upswing in appreciation, with the steep declines like, the Phoenix markets and a lot of the West Coast seen. So, the stability of the market was very attractive, and the opportunities to purchase the properties at deep discounts in St. Louis really is what made us choose the market, and St. Louis ranks 21 out of the 230 markets included in House Predictor results released in the beginning of 2011. So, it's one of the most undervalued markets throughout the country. In 2009, I think it was ranked by Forbes as one of the lowest median monthly housing costs among America's 40 largest metropolitan areas. And overall, the strength of the local economy is strong. Job market saw like 25,000 new positions created in 2011, and a huge boom for the rental market. According to like the Chamber of Commerce, 53% of the area population are renters in St. Louis, which is great for investment properties.
No doubt about it. Something that was really interesting to us, and this is something that we've been talking about for a while. The real estate crash was obviously something that happened, all at once nationwide. It was almost like an overnight thing. I still remember back in 2007, whenever they pulled all the subprime loans, we got up and came to work the next day, and it was like, oh, well, all the subprime's gone now all of a sudden.
Fannie Mae just changed everything overnight.
All of a sudden. And now what we're hearing as far as the real estate recovery is that it's not going to be a nationwide recovery, and that's already happening. You see some areas that are doing better than others. D.C. is supposedly doing real good. Some of the markets in Texas have been outperforming. But we think that, St. Louis, where we're located in the middle of the country, the job market, like you mentioned, we're poised to be one of the markets that's going to dig out of the recovery faster than some of the other markets.
Yeah, and more than that, we really feel like this is a good market to own rental property. Affordability is probably a key, and I think Giro would probably agree with us on that, where you can buy properties at a very affordable price when you have low interest rates. And the rents, even despite all the issues that we have with the economy, we have not seen rents go down.
I think they've actually started to go up a little bit.
Correct.
Yeah. So you guys are buying these properties, and you're doing all the legwork for your clients, and you're actually delivering what's called a turnkey investment. Can you talk to us just a little bit about what turnkey means?
Sure. Basically, it's fully renovated properties with qualified tenants in place and professional property management. The turnkey program, we take things further to really help investors succeed in real estate. Being investors ourselves, we all know too well that you need to have a solid team in place to be successful. That's why we assembled a team of experts to deal with the topics many real estate investors may overlook or don't know. What we want to provide our investors is a total turnkey solution, not just the property. So our team basically, consists of financial planners that can help understand the client's current financial situation and help them make a plan to see like what type of cash flow they're looking for or what type of exit strategy they're looking for on a property. We have CPAs to help them, understand and maximize tax benefits that go along with owning rental property. We have attorneys for asset protection and estate planning, and financing specialists, which is really, as you guys mentioned, tough in this market. One of our lenders just specializes in investment properties, and you could find the house, and you could maybe try to find the rehab crew and try to do what you can on your own, but there's so many pitfalls. And the second to the highest is really finding financing as well. Dealing with a lender that can walk you through the process, because nowadays, I think, Terry, as you said, the guy can have 800 FICO score but not be on the job long enough, and it's hard to get a loan. So, we've built relationships with these lenders, and we've been doing business a long time with them. They know what our clients are looking for and what we do to the properties in order to get them the loan.
Really good. I tell you what, we've been around long enough to where we've seen, unfortunately, and probably a lot of it is fall out of late night TV and, flip this house and all that kind of stuff. We've seen a lot of people that have tried to invest in real estate that unfortunately have failed. There's a myriad of different things they can do wrong. The rehab, the financing, they buy the wrong house. So some of it has to do with risk tolerance too, where if you are doing business with a company that is experienced and they've been through a number of transactions, which I know you guys have, bought 40, 50 property in St. Louis, something like that?
I think actually we're more than that, Keith. I think we're
More than that at
close
this
to like
point.
90, I think.
90 properties. So, I mean, that proven track record and the experience really does count for a lot. You know, you have some crazy guy, you know, on late night TV trying to sell you some slick system and saying it's so easy, you can do it from your laptop and it's simple and you can't lose. And, you know, you can. And, you know, we've kind of been in the trenches long enough to see people that have. So doing business with an outfit like this, you know, it really can help you get into the business and really can help you in buying investments that actually make sense and actually work, and you're not just buying some kind of slick system.
And you're going to be making positive cash flow. You're going to be making money from day one.
One of the questions that I always get asked is, you know, people talking about being landlords, something that kind of scares them a little bit is, well, you know, what happens if you get a bad rent? And I know that you guys outsource the property management, but I know you guys probably do some of the screening on your own too. How do you guys typically screen these potential tenants?
Well, you know, we do have an excellent property manager in place, and basically what we've done is because we own our own properties as well, we really interview our property manager before we turn anything over to them. And basically, before we turn an investor over to a property management company, we want to have the experience of what we went through with them to make sure that when we do turn it over to an investor, you know, that they're getting a quality property manager opposed to just someone that was picked, you know, off of the internet and really doesn't know what they're doing. But he does an excellent job in screening the tenants. They do, you know, extensive background checks on the prospective tenants. They check current landlords, rental history, verify employment, do a criminal background check. And nowadays, unfortunately, with the credit being the way it is and people losing their homes, we're kind of lenient on some of the credits. As long as they don't have, you know, evictions or, you know, late pays on their rent and stuff like that, we're good with that, you know. But he also goes to their current place of residence to see how they're living and to make sure that, you know, they're not running away from a situation, that they're not leaving the house in a terrible mess, you know. Plus, he does a tremendous amount of marketing, online, print publication, works with community groups, just a whole bunch of marketing to get tenants. A lot of times, before our properties are even finished rehab, he has a tenant lined up waiting to actually and move into the property.
I guess right now, I mean, you really, in a lot of ways, you can afford to be pretty picky about your tenants.
You can.
There's so many renters out there.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, you try to you know, minimize your exposure by getting the best one, but lots of times we have multiple applications on a property, and he tries to pick and choose, you know, which is the best renter that will qualify for the home, you know.
I think a good property manager is a must. You know, it really is whenever you're talking about investment property. And it kind of goes both ways. I mean, you have to have a property manager, too, that's willing to work on the property, handle the maintenance request. You got to keep that tenant happy to a certain respect.
Absolutely.
You know, if there's a big leak in the property or if there's a problem with the property, you know, it's tougher to expect a tenant to perform.
Without a doubt. You know, and one thing again about him, he keeps the owners or the investors, I should say, up to date on everything. Everything's online. You have your own owner's portal where you could see when the rent was actually received, and he has direct deposit right into your account, generally within 24 to 48 hours of receiving the rent, minusing his management fee. You know, and you get a monthly statement. Then you get your yearly statement, like in January, when you're supposed to get your 1099. It's already online for you. He does quarterly inspections on the properties. The main goal is to actually go in the house and look around and see how are they living. Is everything okay with the property? Does he notice something? And if he does, then he'll send out a letter saying, hey, you know, we were in the property and we noticed that, you know, the brand new cabinet has, you know, a door falling off. We need this corrected, and we're giving you notice about this. So just to really check on the property for the investor, because investors that are buying these properties are mostly out-of-state investors, either East Coast or West Coast, and they want to make sure that, you know, their property is being taken care of by a qualified manager. And us as a team, DPW, we want to make sure our investors happy, because that's our business, you know.
Excellent. Yeah, that's really smart. I know that you've already touched on this a little bit, Giro, but how long are these properties typically taking to run out?
They take anywhere from 2 weeks to 30 days, Keith. You know, it depends on his marketing, I should say. You know, a lot of times before the property's rented, before the property's rehabbed, he'll have somebody lined up, but you have to go through city and county inspections. Like if the property's in the city, which you guys know, you got to go through the city occupancy inspections. County, sometimes there's 2 inspections. One could be the exterior and the interior, and it's done by 2 different entities. One's done by the county, and one's done by like a private home inspector. So sometimes we'll have the property ready, we'll have a tenant lined up, but we don't have occupancy yet. So we typically want to say between 2 weeks to 4 weeks is when we'll have all the occupancy certificates and the renter ready to move in. And when
I knew that some of that's going to come back to the product that you're offering.
Exactly.
About it, it's a great business plan because you're putting a home that just got rehabbed out there for a renter. And maybe they've been looking at other properties, and you got a property that has a 20-year-old kitchen or whatever the case may be. So if you're walking into a house that's just been recently rehabbed with a lot of new material in it, you're going to get a lot of oohs and ahs out of it.
These properties just look fantastic too. I mean, going back to on that point, there's a house that I'm working on right now for a guy that lives in St. Louis, a local landlord that he wants to rent out, and we go over there to show the property, and there's a piece of siding laying on the front porch. There's a hole in the closet in the master bedroom. A water leak in there. So I mean, that kind of stuff makes it difficult to get properties rented out. Where DPW's houses, I mean, these are like the nicest houses on the block. I mean, they look fantastic, and it doesn't surprise me that you have multiple applicants and really people waiting in line to get into these properties because they really do look that good.
Thank you. Yeah, and the other thing is what we do with when someone does buy a property from us, most times they're purchasing the property with a tenant in it already, and if they're not, if for example we close on January 31st and the tenant winds up moving in February 15th, we'll give them a rent credit for that 14 days, so they are actually cash flowing from the day they close on the property. And that, doing it yourself and trying to buy a property and rehab it and doing all the stuff like that, you're gonna be negative for a while until you get that property done.
Yeah, making money from day one really helps. There's no doubt about it.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of making money, what about the return on investment for one of your properties?
Typically it's between 25 and 40%, and they can go as high as 60% cash-on-cash return, Keith.
Wow, that's pretty salty. There's no doubt about it. That's one thing about real estate. Something that that we've considered through the years is that it's you can use it as an investment, but you can actually borrow money to buy it. So that's pretty powerful when you think of it. So as far as your own personal cash reserves, it's a way that you can really accelerate your own reserves to get a better return.
Exactly.
What type of rehabs are you doing? We touched on this. We've seen a bunch of them. We've seen a ton of them that you did. But usually a company like yourself that's doing this much work, you have some things that are kind of set in stone that you do with these properties.
Yeah, I mean, typically it depends on if it's a duplex, or I should say a multifamily or a single family. But like the multifamilies, for example, down in the city, they're brick buildings, they're solid buildings, but most of them need, a tremendous amount of upgrading. And what we do is we do all new plumbing, which is we use PEX, so there's no vandalism or anything like that you're worried about. Plus, it's a great material for plumbing. So we do the plumbing, we upgrade the electrical. A lot of the buildings have what's called knob and tube wiring. We remove all that knob and tube wiring. So we rewire the buildings, put new panels. We check the roofs. Most times we put a roof. A lot of times we replace the old windows with vinyl windows. We do HVAC, new furnaces, new water heaters, and then most of your cosmetic stuff. All of them get new kitchens, new bathrooms. In the bathrooms we do tile on the floors, tile tub surround, kitchens get tile floors. If we could save the hardwood floor, we'll refinish it and save the hardwood floor, otherwise it gets carpeting. We do a lot of plastering in the buildings, texture. We paint it a two-color scheme, a dapper tan, like a neutral color on the walls, white ceiling and white trim. And then we offer a 1-year home warranty through First American. And in addition to that, anything that malfunctions with the property that, let's say, we can't get the warranty company out there quick enough, it's the middle of the winter and the heat went out, or it's the middle of the summer and the air conditioning went out, our property manager knows to call us so we can get out there. We'll send somebody from our team on our construction end, get them out there and fix the problem, and most times the investor doesn't even know about it. We handle it for them because, again, we're offering a turnkey prop.
So you're taking these buildings that are 50, 60, sometimes 100 years old, and you're really bringing them up to 2012 standards.
Yeah, totally, Keith. We in the city, for example, there's 5 inspections from the city, and it's amazing. I mean, people were living in the property that got foreclosed on. They didn't bother them. The minute we buy them, I mean, they're all over us, and we like it. We like it in one way, and then sometimes it gets to you. But we go through 5 different inspections: electrical, plumbing, heating and air conditioning, interior building, and exterior building. So it's 5 different inspectors coming through that property to ensure that everything is up to standard. It's pretty extensive.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see how that could be a little bothersome too whenever you're dealing with inspector after inspector over and over.
Exactly.
That's kind of a tough nut to crack sometimes.
Definitely.
What about financing? Typically, how are most of your clients financing these homes, and what type of interest rates are we looking at right now? They got to be low.
Yeah, we're closing on some deals this week at 4.75 on most rentals. All rental property, I should say, investment property. It's typically 20 to 25% down, depending. If you have 1 to 4 properties, we can get you in with 20% down. If you have 4 to 10, and our lender can do 10, doesn't only say he can do 10 and can't do 10, he can actually do 10, and it's 25% down. But then we have other options as well. We do sometimes creative deals where they'll put on a single family home, they'll do like $5,000 down. We'll get them a private money loan, whether through ourselves or through one of our hard money and bridge lenders, and then we'll do a rate and term refinance. That works sometimes on the single families, and they'll get 20 to 25% equity in the property when we do that, and that's a low money down, and our lenders pretty knowledgeable on how to get those done. And then I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Giro.
And then we have the other buyers that pay cash and do self-direct IRA, purchase through their self-directed IRA. We use a company called Yuede. They're fantastic. I think you guys know them as well.
You know Karen real well. She's a real talented lady. So most of the times, if it's not cash, they're going into a conventional product?
Yeah, conventional 30-year, fully amortized loan. And like I said, it ranges anywhere from 4.75 to 5.5, 5.75, depending on credit, income, debt to ratio, income. You get dings for all these little things that before wasn't even a question. Now
right. Everything's,
either FICA, if your FICA is good, but your DTI is at and DTI means debt to income. If you're they want to keep you under 50% DTI. But if you're at 49, you may get a ding for that. If you're at 40, you won't get a ding in the interest rate from that.
Yeah, that debt-to-income ratio, that's something that they've really, really tightened up on over the past several years.
But still,
Exactly.
Figuring out a way to get it done is the most important thing. And, even if you look at a 30-year loan, that's something that, to us, is pretty exciting about buying real estate. Time's on your side. Longevity really counts for a lot because as long as you manage the property right, you upkeep it right, over the years, you're going to really, in effect, have someone else paying off your debt for you. It's pretty neat.
So at 4 3/4, Giro, can you run us through maybe a scenario as far as what they can expect to pay per month, maybe, versus the rent? How much cash flow are these people going to be looking at with these properties?
Like on a typical, let's say a 2-bedroom, a duplex with 2 2-bedroom units where Sales price is, let's say, $79,000. Your rental income is about $1,300 to $1,350. So if you put 20% down, you're talking about $16,000 plus closing costs. Let's say you're at $20,000. Your payment is probably somewhere in the $300 range, low 300, maybe like 301, something like that, and then you factor in your 7% for property management, and that's what our property manager charges, which is really good rate. So 7% for management, you're talking $91. You're at, let's say, $400. Then you got your property taxes, which is about another $70, and let's say another $80 for insurance. That's $150. You're at $550, and $50 for water and sewer. You're at $600. So you're looking at $700 positive cash flow, and if you times that by 12, you're talking $8,400 on a $20,000 investment.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so that's roughly 30. It's about a 40% return on your investment.
Makes a lot of sense. It's really exciting for St. Louis. That those types of opportunities are here. I think that's really super. Another question for you, Giro. What other projects are you guys involved with here in St. Louis?
Well, we do the single families, and we do the small multifamilies, which is the 2 and 4 units. And recently we acquired a 36-unit building in St. Louis, which is going to be a historic rehab. It's 36 two-bedroom units. The property was built like in 1923. It's about 50,000 square feet. And we have foreign investors that are partnering up with us in that building, and basically we're going to totally rehab it and rent it, and we're keeping that in our own portfolio, and we actually have an appetite now for a lot more of that product. A lot of our foreign investors want to get involved in the bigger deals, and we're really committed to the St. Louis market. We love the market, think there's a tremendous amount of potential for growth in the market. So as you guys know, we're sourcing other properties that are similar to that. And a lot of these foreign buyers, they love the old brick buildings because, they live in Europe and that's all they're used to. When they see frame homes, they're like, "What is this?" So,
well, I've actually seen your apartment building down there. I know you guys have got to be really excited about that project. It's a really, really cool looking building. I can't wait to see it whenever you guys are finished.
Yeah, we're expecting. We have it in with our architect right now doing the plans, and we're looking at an 8-month rehab once we get started. And, we're also working with the city and the county officials for some other properties on, like, special needs, like for mothers with children that want to get away from, like, abusive domestic situations, and provide housing with them and better the community and really give back to the community for helping us become successful in that market. We really want to give back to the community and to the people that are helping us.
That's great, man. I mean, it's kind of a situation where everybody can win, and I guess that's kind of what it's all about. But we really do appreciate you taking the time to talk with us tonight, Giro. And we have a bunch of slides that we're gonna fly through these things. This is, in a nutshell, this is some information about St. Louis. It's more information about what DPW is doing here in our market, and some of it we've already touched on. But again, we're gonna go pretty quick through this. And Giro, if you have anything to add to these slides, please. Feel free to jump in there at any time.
Sounds good.
And this is just a little bit of background about real estate investing. Obviously, we're believers. We think that time-wise, I'm not going to say it's as good as it's ever been, but after the housing downturn and what happened with the prices so beat down, with the commodities high, less builders in the market now. I mean, if you can buy properties that are rehabbed right now, the time is right, in my opinion. So if there's anybody out there right now that is even considering on the fence, thinking about jumping into the market, really, really bear down and think about doing it pretty quick.
One thing that actually Brian Binkholder, he's a syndicated radio talk show host here in St. Louis, a guy that we've worked with through the years. And one thing that kind of stuck with me, I was listening to him speak one time. He was actually speaking at one of our seminars last year, and he said when he first got into financial planning, he would, be looking at people's financials, how much money they had or didn't have or whatever. And what really stuck out to him was the fact that all the people that really had a lot of money, they all owned real estate. And I think a lot of our clients that, that you might be where you want to be professionally, whatever, but for retirement, I mean, particularly now with what's going on in the country, I mean, real estate is really something that you can count on. I mean, that's what Keith and I are doing. I mean, our properties that we own, we're going to keep those properties, pay them off, and that's source our retirement.
I got another client. He's got an MBA from Purdue. His wife has an MBA from WashU. These are super smart people. They're successful people. They make a lot of money. And he called me a couple of years ago, and he said, hey, I need to get together with you, Keith. I was like, what's going on? He's like, we want to get into rental property, and here's why. Sarah, him and his wife sat down. They sat down, and they were going over their finances, and they were going over where they wanted to be down the road. And he said, there's no way that we want to be where we want to be without buying real estate. And that's something that really stuck with me. Information about DPW, we've gone through a lot of this. We've mentioned that these guys have been in several markets. You guys were in Phoenix, Dallas, and a couple more, Giro?
Yeah, we were in Nevada, Las Vegas, basically, Phoenix, Dallas, and St. Louis, and we're still active in the Dallas market as well.
Right on, and they're here in St. Louis now. Obviously, we're happy to have them. This is more a little bit about what these guys do, where they put it all out there. Everything is real transparent. It's not, we'll wait and see type stuff. If you're a number cruncher, everything's there, which is a real good fit for a lot of people, because you're talking about investing your hard-earned money, and you want to go through it, probably, three, 4 times to make sure that the profit's going to be there and that the income's going to be there. One thing that really sticks out on this one is the second to the bottom down there where it's construction. I mean, construction is not really something that you can learn overnight. It's something that takes experience. It takes expertise. How many rehabs have we been into through the years where you walk in and it looks like the Three Stooges did the finished work?
I think the construction, the problems that investors have had, that's probably the biggest issue as far as what makes a good real estate deal go bad is poor construction.
I agree.
Definitely, and you can go so crazy and have so many overruns if you don't watch stuff, and it could eat away all the equity in the property.
And you're talking about people that might have a full-time job, they might have kids. I mean, it's tough for these people to really keep a handle on what's going on with a construction project. I mean, let alone if they live in St. Louis.
Exactly.
But if you live out of state, it's just a really tough thing to watch. And that's one thing that's impressed me so much about DPW is you guys have been able to put together such an awesome team in St. Louis. We've really seen this on the bus tours that we've done with you guys. I was, very impressed on the tours last year about the speakers that came to town, all the information that was shared, and like Keith said earlier, everything's transparent.
Problems that people are having, we touched on this right at the start of the presentation tonight. I get pretty tired of my financial planner telling me that the money's going to come back. I've been hearing that for years now. Oh, it's going to come back. Oh, it's going to come back. Oh, it's going to come back. Honestly, when I get my statement, I don't even look at it anymore.
It's disheartening to even open it.
It goes right in the trash because I'm sick of looking at it. It's like I know that there's a lot of people out there that really want to control their own destiny more than rely on the stock market or the bond market.
I mean, one thing that we've talked about before is we look at like our dad, for example. He turned 70 actually last weekend. We celebrated his birthday, which was great. Now, during his professional life, whenever he first got a job, the stock market, whenever he started his career to when he ended it, the stock market tripled. You think that's going to happen again?
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
So, again, that's something that, why we're just firm believers in real estate, and I know the guys at DPW are as well. So, again,
without a doubt.
Are there other options for investors that offer low risk and high rate of return? The answer is yes. And this is going to lead us right into the turnkey cash flow investment properties.
Some of the stuff we've talked about a little bit, returns, cash flow. I mean, and again, it's something that's all going to be kind of charted out for anybody looking to buy any of these properties. And this is just a little slide that says why. It's going to be right for a lot of people. There's no doubt about it. I guess everybody has a little bit different risk tolerance, but if you can work with a company that has a proven track record, that's really going to go a long way for someone looking to get in and buy some of these properties. And again, why not just do it myself? You see the guy down here. Looks like he's had a rough day. He probably got some bad news from his contractor. You got 5 different inspections going on with one property. It's not late night TV. It's not one of these everybody can do it type situations. You really got to know what you're doing.
It's a fantastic business. I mean, really, a lot of know-how. in order to do it correctly.
Exactly. You got to really watch everything to make sure that everything's being done the right way.
And Giro, I mean, you know this. I know you guys have experienced this, and I know you guys have just fantastic contractors. But contractors can come and go a little bit. I think that's just the nature of the business.
You know what? All the time. I mean, and even the fact that we have good guys. To be honest, if you're not on top of them, people get lazy. They're like, hey, you know what? If it takes 3 weeks, he's not saying nothing. You really got to be on top of them, and you can be friends with people, but business is business and friendship is friendship, and you got to make sure they know that property needs to get done and it needs to get done right.
So the project management is just such an important piece of the whole process. And that's, again, something that Giro and the guys at DPW are just experts on.
This is a return, as far as what you can expect on your investment property, 2 years, 5 years, and 10 years. I mean, 84 grand, that's pretty sweet.
84 grand compared to 14,000 for a 2.5% CD. I don't think I'm even getting that on my CDs that I have in my money market account right now.
And this is going to lead us into, major markets, and we're going to talk about some information about St. Louis. We're going to hurry, but we feel that St. Louis is poised for the property investor right now. There's a lot of different factors that are really helping our market right now. Job market. We have some companies that have come into St. Louis and actually taken a chance on it. I think that where we're located in the middle of the country really helps us. We talk about logistics a lot. We're located on 2 major rivers, the Mississippi and the Missouri. Run right through. The Missouri runs on one side of St. Louis County. The Mississippi River runs on the other side. And then transportation being really a job, a profession, whatever you want to say, that companies can't outsource. So these really do need to be local jobs. And we think over the long term, that's something that's really going to help St. Louis. Something else to mention is our airport has actually recently, it was last September, the cargo started coming in out of China, where it used to go into O'Hare. Now the cargo and it's inbound goods from China going into Lambert. They pulled it out of O'Hare for 2 different reasons. The weather was bad up there, so I think that was causing some problems with tough winters or whatnot. And then also I think O'Hare is just a nightmare to get out of. So actually getting the goods out of the airport was really coming into question. So it was a major deal. I know that the mayor worked on it and a lot of bigwigs around St. Louis worked on it, but we're getting a lot of these goods going into the whole Midwest. It's coming into Lambert, which is located right in the middle of the county. And then also they're also going to be exporting meat out of the Midwest, and they're going to be shipping meat out of Lambert back over to China. So that should really help us through the years. A little bit of information about St. Louis. I think that maybe we're a little bit bigger market than some people think. We're at 2.8 million total. It's just over 300,000 in St. Louis City, and St. Louis County is just under 1 million. In fact, St. Louis County has half the population in the state. There's a lot of people here. There's a lot of units here, and thankfully there's a lot of rent. Some of the big companies that we have. Express Scripts is newer. They've been here 4 or 5 years. They're really kicking butt.
Yeah, they built a big complex out by the airport, which is out by University of Missouri St. Louis, and they moved their headquartered here. So, among Express Scripts, we have Emerson Electric, Monsanto's a big chemical company, and then some of the other major employers here in St. Louis. University of Missouri St. Louis, I know employs a ton of people. We have huge hospitals here in Missouri, here in St. Louis area.
A lot of medical here.
A lot of medical, a lot of universities as well. St. Louis ranks 7th in fastest growing wages in the U.S. That's according to Business Insider, which is excellent news. Total employment will expand 1.9% by 25,000 positions in 2011. I know this is something that Joe talked about earlier. And again, going back to Lambert St. Louis International Airport, has a $5.1 billion annual economic impact on the St. Louis region, and that's probably something that we're going to be seeing a lot more of. As long as the goods from China keep coming in and out.
Yeah, we would hope so. And then down at the bottom, back to logistics. That we also have rails coming in and out of St. Louis also. A couple more facts about St. Louis, and we're not necessarily going to take the time to go through all this information, guys, because we're trying to hurry through it. If anybody wants these facts or wants this information, just let us know. We'd be happy to provide it. But this is just some of the more of the stuff about the city and some of the facts that we think make us strong, make us appealing to investment.
Also, another important fact about St. Louis is the St. Louis Cardinals did win the World Series in 2011.
Ah, very good.
Had to throw that in there.
Yeah, definitely. Caused so much traffic, I couldn't get downtown. I was going nuts.
Every time you're in town, there's a ball game. I had zero complaints.
Exactly.
These Cardinals, man, what's going on down here? Talking about the real estate market, something that's really interesting about the city is there was actually, I think there was like an explosion. This was back at the turn of the century, the 1900 turn of the century, is that there was an explosion down on the river, and 3/4 of the city burned. And this was obviously over 100 years ago. So I guess the city came out with an ordinance back then. Everything new had to be brick. So as you're driving through the city, and a lot of it's expanded out to the county too, we have a ton of brick buildings in St. Louis, which is really pretty cool. It gives us kind of like a Eastern, or maybe like Giro mentioned, kind of a European feel. Obviously, they've lifted it now. I mean, there's
right.
stuff being built down there now, but I mean, it was really a blessing for us here in St. Louis, because I mean, those brick buildings down there, I know the ones that you guys are buying, you got brick all the way up to the rafters, you got hardwood floors, you got limestone basements. I mean, those things were really built to last. Totally. And now we're going to breeze through this. This is just some of their properties, and we're not necessarily going to take the time to go through every single one of these, but these are just a couple of examples of some of you guys' inventory on some of the homes that you've had. Some of these you probably maybe already sold or whatever, but you see a couple single families here in the county. That one's up in Florissant, El Camara. These are really the types of properties that are going to be available for sale whenever you're working with DPW. And I know Giro is always telling me that he needs more properties, which is a great thing. Every day. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Turnkey frequently asked questions. And this is probably something that would be a concern. I mean, obviously, anybody that has half a brain doesn't want to buy something that the value is going to continue to drop. There's no doubt about that. But that being said, and this is something that we deal with too, being in real estate and doing real estate for a living. At this point, we've been in a real estate recession for going on 5 years now. What's really going to happen to make anything any worse? I mean, there's just no way. We feel that the market is probably dragging along the bottom, and honestly, there's really nowhere else that it can go but up. Are the houses in move-in condition? Absolutely, yes. They're ready to go. And this talks about your First American home warranty. Exactly. First American, and those warranties actually are renewable. I mean, it's not just for 1 year. You can continue to buy the warranty year after year. It's really a great product for landlords. What are the specifics of the rehab maintenance guarantee? I know you touched on this a little bit, Giro. Basically, you guys are making a promise that everything's going to be right for a year. We're in the market for a long time. We're not leaving the market. So, if something pops up, a couple of years down the road, we always try to tell our investors, hey, call us before you call somebody else to do a repair. Let us, because obviously we're doing stuff in volume. It's better to call us and get our electrician out there to see what it is, or our plumber out there to see what it is, because you pick up a plumber out of the Yellow Pages or Craigslist, something like that. You're an out-of-state investor. They're gonna knock you over the head on the price. Yeah, their bids are going to be 25% higher just because you're not here.
And I think some of the labor, some of the cost to get construction done here in St. Louis might be a little bit different than it would be maybe in San Francisco or LA or New York.
Right. Exactly. There's no doubt about it. So this is Giro's contact information. If anybody out here has any questions for him, feel free to give him a call. I know he's a really busy guy, but he'll get back with you. No doubt about that. And then an email address if anybody wants to send over emails. Again, Giro, thanks so much for joining us. Working with you has been really, really good for the Yuede team. We've learned a ton. We've done a lot of business together. We want to continue, and we think this is really a good thing that we have going with you guys. Not only is it good for us, good for you, but it's good for people that want to get into real estate investing. So it's something that we really want to keep going. Definitely. I mean, working with you guys has been phenomenal. We are so happy with you. We're going to have a long-term relationship. We're going to be in that market very long, and we're going to continue to buy on a monthly basis. So we're looking forward to a great year ahead, and having you guys with us. Events set at this point, or is that still in the works? I'm sorry? Do you guys have any events here in St. Louis set at this point, or is that stuff still in the works? We're planning at least 4 bus tours to St. Louis for 2012, possibly increasing that as well. If you want to know about the St. Louis events that we're going to have coming up, go to it's stlouiscashflowbustour.com. We're updating the site, and it's going to have all the events for 2012. So again, it's stlouiscashflowbustour.com, and you'll see the upcoming events, and you can register for them as well.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, and like I mentioned earlier, these tours for anybody that can get to town or has the capabilities to come and go on one of these tours, you just learn so much. I mean, Keith and I have been in the business for 11 years now, and we just learned a ton at the DPW tours.
Speakers are phenomenal.
It really is. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up for tonight, everybody. Just a couple of quick announcements. I wanted to invite anybody who is a member of the iTunes store. You can actually go onto iTunes. You can download all of our podcasts and our webinars for free. We will be putting this webinar. Also, we did a webinar with Karen Hall from UDirect IRA Services in December. That's available on YouTube. We'd be happy to send links out to anybody that would like to listen to this webinar again, share it, whatever the case is. So, Giro, we look forward to seeing you soon, and thanks again for your time tonight.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody have a good night.
Take care.
Bye-bye.